ScoutCast live on Google Hangouts, and if you're listening to the edited version, good evening. You'll miss all the best bits, probably all the bits where we muck up. Good evening, Granville. How are you?
Good evening. I'm all right. It doesn't feel right when we haven't got the tune started to lead us in.
I know, but there must be a way of doing that. Next season I'll get that sorted. It's just this season it was a bit like, well, we'll cobble this together, see how it works, and we'll go from there. Bit by bit we're improving it. I think the images will work this week, so people will be able to see what we're talking about. I'm going to share some images on screen. I think everything should work in that respect. But
you should have had a shave mark.
I know, well, my beard is extra long this week. Apologies to podcast listeners who can't see that. And I've got new glasses, which are actually making me seasick. So, not totally perfect, but I'll do my best to soldier on. Granville, it's a pleasure to have you on again. Pleasure to see you. I noticed you've got the old Fancy Football Scout T-shirt in the background there.
Yeah, I thought I'd get a prop in before you did. And you've got some horse racing thing. Is that sort of to advertise the betting on the site?
No, how dare you accuse me of such commercial activity? No, I'm between houses at the moment. Sold my house in Brighton. I'm living with the in-laws, and they own 7 racehorses. No, I'm only joking. It's just I don't know why actually. It's just a favourite painting apparently. Who am I to question? I'm in their house. I can't ask such questions. Welcome to another ScoutCast, listeners. We're going to sum up our season. We've got. Well, basically, we're going to look at the Mini League situation, how I've managed to close the gap over the last 4 weeks. I can't beat Granville, but I'm giving him a run for his money. And I owe for another 3 or 4 games.
Are you really?
Well,
are you really?
Yeah, more on that in a minute. But I think I've done pretty well the last 4 game weeks, and there's a reason for that. We'll examine that as well. We're going to look at Gargatron stats, which will be interesting. I think maybe to compare how our teams compare on that. We'll talk about Gargatron and what it is later on. We'll tell you about that if you don't already know how to work the Gargatron. It's a fantastic bit of kit available online. We'll do all aboard and the weekend preview, the final game week of the season. It's a final roll of the dice. We'll talk about potential gambles there. We'll look at all aboard and the transfer activity. And then later on, Jonty is arriving with 2 special guests this week. We've got Evs and we've got Apple Bonkers. That should be a special treat, Granville.
Yes. Sorry, I was just messing about. Let's. Where are we going first? We're talking about the mini leagues.
We are indeed, and the fact that the gap is now just 48 points, having been 5 weeks ago, it was 120 odd points.
I
reckon I've beaten you for the last 4 game weeks, effectively.
Yeah. This wasn't too bad this game week, you know. I got 89 points. I took a 12-point hit. Most of them worked out. The one that didn't really work out, which was a bit of a stupid mistake, was getting De Gea in for Adrian, and that cost me 8 points. But Doran's, well, he was just really a make-weight for getting in Mata and Dzeko. And Mata didn't work out, but it didn't work out for anyone. He was a popular transfer in this week, and it's just unfortunate. And he didn't play the second game, much to the chagrin of most of the community. But Dzeko, what about him? That's 4 goals in.
Well, incredible. I was really disappointed actually that you got him in as well, and then I was kind of disappointed that I didn't have the balls to captain him, because if I done, I'd have been 22 points closer, and actually might have had something to play for in this final game week.
Is that completely in hindsight? Because for me, I sort of said the same thing to myself, but in reality, I never really considered captaining him over Aguero.
I did think about it. The reason why I thought about it was because I thought I can get a differential on you, because I kind of knew you were going to go Aguero, but I thought that previously when I'd gone for the differential with the captain, I'd been punished. I think there was a game week I didn't go Suarez and you did, and it instead of closing the gap, it got wider. So I kind of felt that, well, with 3 or 4 different players to you, I could hopefully bridge the gap with that, but it didn't work out. And yeah, I did think about it, and also I didn't count on you getting Gerrard's 10 points off the bench. Had I captained Dzeko, and had you not got those points off the bench, if Ramsey had got a 2-pointer,
you'd have still been about 40 behind. It's difficult to make up in one game week.
No. I would have been about 20 points behind, and you just never know with the captain. You never know. It would have been interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, if you got Dzeko's captain, then it might have made a bit of a difference. It certainly would have made a difference. It would have made a 20-point difference. And what are you behind? What's the scores?
48 points behind now. 48 points. So
48. So you have. Hello.
Hello, yeah, I reckon I can get it down to 20 odd points. Let's see. I mean, that if I get it down to 20 odd points, that would be remarkable, having been over 120 behind about 6 weeks ago. So I'll be well pleased about that. Let's see how it goes. I've got to do one last gamble, but more on that later on. Gargatron, then, have you looked at your stats and how you got on? Because I'm gonna bring mine up now. Let's have a look. And we'll chat about them. Let's do that now. So
I'll do mine as well.
So here's mine.
You can see mine as well. Can you see mine?
Certainly can, yeah.
Right.
So let's talk about yours in detail then, Granville.
Right. Have you compared these two? Have you looked at this?
No, I haven't. This is the first time I looked at it. So your total captain score is 586, right? Compared to mine at 530. So you've done better on your captain straight away.
Yeah.
Fair enough. And then basically elsewhere, this is you moaning about players off the bench. Then total score for unused subs 286. Mine is 242. So yeah, I suppose in a way, yeah, I can see why that would be the case. You've scored more points on the bench than me. Fair enough, but I don't think you can moan about that. Really, it's not that much of a difference, is it?
I think the killer for me, and I've been saying it all season, is the unused subs. 286 points. What's yours?
I've just said that. It's 242 mine. So yes, you did. Yeah, slightly worse, but I don't think there's anything for you to moan about really. I just think 286. Be interesting when we get Evs and we get Doug on later on, particularly Doug who had a great season. Just how badly they've done, because I don't think 286 is too bad. Over the season, I don't think
it's it is really bad actually. I've compared it around, and it's pretty bad. I think last year, you remember I had all those injuries, which really killed my season. And I think this season is just like bad decisions and benching decisions. But there you go. I'll probably be back next year, Mark, and try and improve the bench situation. We'll see.
Well, this is it. I mean, have you got any lessons learned for the season? Have you got one big miffed? Is it basically you just made the wrong decision with subs throughout the season? Do you think that could have helped, or?
I think that's part of it. I mean, there's loads of things that I missed out on. I mean, the Yaya Toure one is an obvious one. Can you see me now, by the way?
Yeah, it's all fine.
The Yaya Toure one was, it's a bit annoying that I didn't get on him at first, and I had lost points right throughout the season. And then, I was a bit stubborn not getting him in later on. But I've actually benefited over the weeks not having him the last few weeks because the alternatives have come in. But it's a very risky strategy, I think. It generally doesn't pay off, and over the season it hasn't paid off.
You meant to say if you haven't used the Gargatron, if you're listening and you haven't used the Gargatron, Jonty will put a link in the hot topic, or we'll post a link up as well tomorrow when we do the podcast. It is pretty good. It gives you an analysis of your team. It probably gives you some stats that you don't want to see, because if you think you've been making right decisions with captains and subs, it can tell you otherwise sometimes. But
there's one other thing you should point out. Have you been to the rankings?
No, I did have a look yesterday, yeah. But let's have a look at that then. Is this your gap from the different rankings?
Yeah. So my target now is is to get to top 50,000. Well, it was this week, and 24 points off. Now I was within touching distance of that 50,000 mark until Yaya Toure scored in the 185th minute of the double game week.
Yeah.
And cost me 20,000 places or whatever it was.
See,
and that's the end of that, really. I think 24 points is probably too much to make up in one game week. How's your
every time Toure scores, this is what happens. Your rank just basically plummets, doesn't it? Effectively, so.
And vice versa, I mean, I was up near the top 50,000 before he scored, so it's just a big swing because of his ownership.
Well, let's have a look at mine there. If you have a look at ranking, I haven't got mine. I can't show you mine because I haven't saved that as an image, unfortunately. But I mean, it will take too long to sort that out.
You don't need to. Just go to ranking, click on the tab,
Yeah, no, I haven't got it open, no, Granville, so we can't do that, I'm afraid. It'll take too long for me to sort that out. But yeah, I mean, it's every time Torre scores, it's a problem. You can almost feel yourself falling down the
So,
ranks every time you
every
watch
time
them.
Torres scores, a little puppy dies.
Yeah, more or less. It is in my world anyway, and anyone who hasn't got him. Apologies for the baby crying, if you can hear that. I think I've woken up my son, but yeah, apologies for that. Whoopsie. Okay, so let's have a look at.
Can I just ask you, actually, whilst we're talking about the myth, what's your biggest myth of the season?
Well, yeah, I was going to say that. I think basically I've got a couple. So I've been slightly put off by my son crying, but I'll try and carry on.
It's been the Nigel and Billy show, hasn't it? The last couple of weeks.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So, well, I mean, there's a few things I've learned. One of them, right, basically, is obviously to. I think we're gonna have to stop Granville. To be honest, I'm just gonna have to pause a minute and see if everything's all right. Hold on a minute.
Okay, leave it on. I'll try and keep people entertained. Actually, should we bring someone in? Mark. He's gone. Well, I'm left on my own, as usual. Is he stopped? Oh, he's muted. Okay, so I'm left on my own. What I'm going to say now? Let's see. Okay, so yeah, it's just been one of those seasons, I suppose, and I'm quite glad that it's the last game. We just got one more game week to go. We'll talk about all aboard now. Who we got at the top? We got our City players, Dzeko and Yaya Toure. Dzeko with 25 points this week. Marvellous transfer. I couldn't believe it, and he took advantage of Aguero getting his injury yet again. Now I went double City forward line, Dzeko and Aguero, which kind of leaves me now waiting on news from Pellegrini to see whether Aguero's going to be back for the weekend. Otherwise, I'm going to have to look at transferring him out, I think, and probably getting someone like Sturridge in. Although Sturridge hasn't looked in much form since he's come back. So Xhaka's at the top with 58,000 transfers in, followed by Yaya Toure, obviously 34,000 transfers in. Then we've got Sturridge at 29,000. Giroud at 20,000. That's a strange one.
I'm back, Granville.
Okay, I'm just going through. Okay, I can't see.
What are you ranting on about?
I'm just going through all aboard.
Okay, fine. Okay, sorry about that. This is very much live, and the situation that this new house isn't exactly. Well, I say new house, interim house isn't exactly perfect for a live broadcast of the ScoutCast. So sorry about that. This will obviously be edited out for the podcast version, but anyone watching live's got insight into my life there and my son's lungs. Apologies for that. So, Granville, where were you? Were you looking at all aboard, were you?
I was. So I've just done all the transfers in. So it's basically dominated by City and Liverpool, as usual.
Well, not surprising when they're the only two with something to play for on the final day. Can we go back a bit though? Can we go back to my lessons learnt over the season and focus back where we were? Okay, we'll forget all the ball for that. We'll come back to it in a bit maybe, because to be honest, with one game week to go, all aboard. It's all about Liverpool and City, as you say. I wanted to talk about the fact that in the last 4 game weeks, I've taken hits. I think I've taken 8, 4, 4, and 8 in hits, and they've been my best 4 game weeks of the season, apart from game week 1, which kind of destroys the myth that it was a kind of theory that we created a few seasons ago when we did some number crunching on the top players or the top 200 managers, and the fact they took very few hits. And it's interesting, we had Luke Weston on a few weeks ago, Granville, didn't we? And we talked about the hits he made. Was it 17 that he made? Or 17 game weeks he took the hits in?
Right, yeah.
Something like that. And so he kind of was the first thing to kind of suggest that the theory of not taking hits and being a top manager is complete nonsense. And I set out this season and went, right, I'm not going to take hits at all. I'm going to avoid it where possible. And I think that's really killed my season off, because I wasn't able to react to Toure or Ramsey. Then by the time I got round to thinking about them and getting the money for them, I kind of felt like it was chasing points. Yeah. So I put it off even more. the minute I start taking hits, I start closing the gap on you and start actually doing well. So I'm going to change my policy completely next season, inspired by Luke Weston and my last 3 or 4 game weeks. I think that's what I'm going to do.
It doesn't prove everything. I took the same number of hits as you did, and you made 50 points on me. Last season, where you did really, really well, you didn't take many hits neither. So I wouldn't put it just down to hits. I think this season's been a different season. We've talked about this before, haven't we? That you needed to get on the bandwagons quite early, even if it required spending points. I mean, that's the kind of the summarisation that Luke made. That it was just a matter of whether you liked it or not, just getting them in for those weeks and just and stopping people gaining on you.
Yeah, but I think
rather than waiting. I mean, if you need to get a player in, spend 4 points because it may hurt you having to wait that extra week.
But I think it's been exacerbated this season by the fact that Ramsey and Toure just continued their form until Ramsey's injury, of course.
And Suarez.
But also the fact there was no other players coming through. Walcott and Michu didn't come through. Hazard kind of emerged as a heavy hitter, although he went off the boil. I think the fact that if you didn't react quickly to Toure and Ramsey and the 4 players there and Sturridge and Suarez, then you lost ground and were never able to make it up. Jonty, who did very well because he got on those players early and they did the business for him, and we had no alternatives to help us catch him up. Previous seasons I think we've had more choice, and if you miss one bandwagon, as you always used to say, well, the template will be broken up, more players will come through. But I don't think it really happened. I mean, 20 weeks ago we were talking about Toure and Ramsey, and 20 weeks later we're still talking about Toure, who scored the other night.
We sound like broken records, Mark. I think I do think that we need to start, but we need to have moved on by now.
Well, the thing is, they haven't moved on, has they? And I think had I taken hits earlier in the season, I think I'd have had much better season out of it. And you have to react, don't you? You have to react to what's going on, and I didn't really do that.
Every season is different. I've already seen this week on the site people posting up their teams for next year. And basically it's just all the form players right now at the end of this season. They believe that that's just going to be carried through to the next season, and it's never the case. Plus, the prices are going to be different. I just don't think you can translate one season to the next.
What's interesting as well, we're doing our end of season awards at the moment, and we always start by looking back on last season's team of the season, and I think it's only Suarez who was in it. And so, you look at last year and you go, well, these are the players. These are the players I'm going to have next season, and Michu, Walcott, Van Persie were all in there, of course, and Baines is at left back. I mean, Baines could have made the team of the season this season and may still do, but it's likely to be Coleman, I would have said. So, I mean, very rarely do the players from one season translate to the next.
I think John Terry's one that I think he missed last season, really, didn't he? Because the manager situation, I don't think and he didn't get that many chances. But this season he's been, one of the mainstays, one of the most important defenders, I think, to have.
Yeah, and he looks like he'll make the team this season as well.
Once Chelsea have their act together, because it took them until Christmas to start really getting clean sheets.
Well, the other thing that I've decided, as well as taking hits or not be shy taking hits, is when I'm playing my wildcard, don't get involved in any conversations with you, because I'm partly blaming you for the fact I didn't get Ramsey, because I had him. I remember having I was chatting to you about this, didn't I? Because you said, you sure he's going to maintain it? Because I think I played my wild card about, was it game week 7 or 8? I think it was. It was pretty early into the Ramsey form. I think he just got a couple of goals in Europe, and I got the price rise. I got the kind of money out of him, and I sold him on, and just felt that he wasn't going to be able to maintain it. And regretted that massively.
See, the mind games are really important. Yeah, I mean, you only have to look at Mourinho this season, although he's probably not going to win anything. But there's certain times when you can see that he's kind of won the battle of the mind before the game's actually started. And that was my trick.
Yeah, I think you did get better in that respect.
I think maybe I did. Just in that, just for that wild card, but. I wasn't convinced to Ramsey at that point when you were playing your wild card.
No, you weren't.
I don't think I had him in actually. I missed the first couple of game weeks with him. I got him in eventually, got about half of his points. But you waited, didn't you? I don't think you got him. Did you get him in at all?
No, I've never had him. I think I had him for a couple of weeks in the season, but that was it. So, and the same for Torre. You know, I've never had him all season. So there we go. Like
well, neither have I. Neither have I.
So let's look at all the board now then. As you said, Torre's in there, Zeko. It's all dominated by Man City and Liverpool. Do you see anybody else on the final day? I mean, we're all putting our hopes on those two teams because they're going for the title. There's always a bizarre result though. There might even be like a final day hat trick from someone unexpected. But do you see any sense in looking beyond those two?
Not really. They're the two most scoringest. Is that word? Teams that are likely to score lots of goals. They've got fairly easy opposition. Maybe City will be nervous. I don't know. I mean, they kind of took the time at the week yesterday, didn't they? Villa defended well, but it's really difficult to defend for 90 minutes that way and not to give up any real chances. I think it's going to be similar against West Ham, but I think City will find the breakthroughs. So I think they're all valid. The other teams, you could look at Spurs are at home to Villa. Villa are still going to concede goals, and Spurs they're at home. Players like Adebayor, Eriksen, Kane. They're all going to score pretty well, I think, this week. If you look at the transfers in, I mean, Hazard's in there. There we see it. Hazard's in there just after the Liverpool and City players. Obviously, people are fancying him, but I just don't. Chelsea have had the stuffing knocked out of them, and then Eriksen is the intriguing option, I suppose. That could be an option, definitely. Yeah, and then you've got the other mid-price midfield. You got Lallana, who I think most people have got rid of, but he'd be a good pick, I think, maybe this week. I know it's against United, but I think United are still going to be leaking goals. I can't remember. Maybe who else is there? There's nothing else that you can predict there. Nothing that I can predict anyway.
No, I just don't see it.
It's a lottery, isn't it?
No surprises in transfers out. Rooney with the injury, Aguero as well, who is a doubt for the final day. Do you think he'll make it?
No, I don't think he will. No.
And
I don't think they need to take the risk with him. Do they? Do they really? I mean, they're playing. They've managed to score the goals without him.
He'll do a John Terry. He'll run on at the end with the trophy in his kit, probably. That's what he'll do. But I just don't see it doing more than that. So, I mean, Zeko's going to be the man, and it shows in the transfers in. I think Zeko's got every chance of keeping the goals coming on the final day.
So you're going to captain him?
I couldn't possibly say Granville. I've got to take a risk, haven't I? We've both got Aguero. We're both going to get rid. I've got a plan, put it that way. But I've got to take a risk with the captain. Try and get the gap down even more and get a few more places. Maybe try and break the 100.
So what's your rank at the minute?
I think about 154,000, I think, which isn't bad. But I don't think I'm going to break the 100k. So yeah, but that's better than I could be expected about 6 weeks ago. So I'm quite pleased with that, to be honest. I say that, but not very pleased. But what can I do? It's my worst season ever, as people have probably heard before now. Okay, Granville, let's look at the weekend preview. Let's look at who could possibly cry. I've picked out the clean sheets for you. I've done it for you this time. But it's quite difficult. Clean sheets on the final day just seem, I don't know why, just seem unlikely. Particularly when one of the teams I picked out is Liverpool, home to Newcastle. That Liverpool defence, even at home to Newcastle, struggling to see it, aren't you?
Yeah. Did you watch the game against Palace?
Yeah, well, I didn't see the game live, but yes, it was, from what I could tell, the highlights, debacle, wasn't it?
You could never, in a million years, see that scoreline. At 78 minutes, it was 3-0. All you could see was Liverpool maybe scoring one or two more. And they just folded. It was just one goal, which was a bit lucky, deflected off Glenn Johnson, and then they just opened up. They didn't know how to play it. It's like they didn't have a plan B, which they didn't have any kind of defence against Palace, which is so strange. It was sort of like it was almost fated. When they scored the second one, I just knew they were going to score the third.
It's not going to be the case at home to Newcastle, though, is it? I mean, they've got to go for the jugular, they've got to go for goals, but obviously they're going to know what's going on at the Etihad. So it's just always it's a really interesting day. I've gone for Man City as another clean sheet because at home to West Ham, but even that, you just don't know. I mean, look at the QPR game. I mean, no one could have predicted the kind of the match that went on over that 90 minutes, and also the outcome. But you kind of think Man City on any other day should beat West Ham with a clean sheet. The same with Liverpool and Newcastle, I would say, given Newcastle's form. I think they've scored, very few goals of late, even though Remy's back. The other one I picked out, which I think is the surer bet, is Sunderland, because their form is just remarkable. Home to Swansea, you just see them grinding out another win on a clean sheet, don't you?
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. They've got the defence right, haven't they, the last few weeks?
They have.
Last couple of weeks. Yeah. And I wasn't on them at all.
No,
I didn't want to change my goalie, but I did get Alonso. That was a bit of a mistake. I stuck well. I guess, like with Cahill and Mertesacker, they've still been getting the clean sheets. It's just they didn't have that double game week. So, yeah, I think they're quite likely to get another clean sheet. I think
they're the best bet of all, I would have said. So here we go into the mini game now. As it happens, Granville, not only have I pulled closer, I'm beating you by 7 points here. Do you want to review what happened last week? Oh, it's 2 weeks ago.
I can't. Yeah, it was 2 weeks ago. Now, who did we have?
I went for Rooney and you went for Bonnie, Granville.
Yeah. So I win the Flair. Do I get double points for Flair?
No. Yes. To be honest, though, Bonnie was a Flair pick as a heavy hitter, but he got 12 points and Rooney got the extra bonus points on 13. But the damage was done on the Fancy Island risk, Granville.
Yeah, because you had Rooney. Yeah, I went for Holtby. I got the wrong one, didn't I? Because Dejaga scored.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a bit unfortunate. And you had Barini, who got... did he have a penalty, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah. And anyway, so he caught up. All these weeks that have been ahead, I think it's like almost most of the season. You've done a Man City on me. Man City have only been top 11... Is it 11 weeks? No, what is it? It's a very few weeks of the season, and they've timed it just right, and I think you've done exactly the same.
I think you were, again, about 6 weeks ago, you were about 50 odd ahead, and I was just whittling away at you, and it reflects the fact I've been making some good decisions of late, I think, but I've left it too little too late, as I've said.
Well, say, if you're 7 points ahead, and I haven't checked these scores, but I trust that you calculated.
No, that is absolutely right, I'm certain.
So, this week, I'm just going to have to play safe.
Again?
Even though I'm behind, should I be playing safe?
Are you getting these picks off Jonty? What's going on?
Don't say again. Last week I had Bonnie, and you had Rooney. So, okay, what are you going to follow? I'm going to go for Suarez. What are you going to do? You're going to go for Dzeko?
Well, I think I will. Because he's done so well for me. And if City are going to score goals, Dzeko's going to have something to do with it. So, yeah, I'll go Dzeko. I think that's a good choice.
See, I was almost going to do Dzeko, so we'll see. Fancy Island race.
Yeah, I've gone Sessegnon, my old friend. It's someone I go back to many times over my fancy football career in the last 5 years. Sessegnon never really does it for me. He's kind of a sentimental character up there with Kolarov, really, and Matt Taylor and even Dzeko as well. But to end the season on the Dzeko-Sessegnon combination, I think just seems absolutely right. So I'll go Sessegnon. West Brom at home to Stoke. I think they're going to look for a win. They've got to get a point.
They looked dreadful yesterday. I watched the game. They looked dreadful.
Well, we'll see.
And when the team's dreadful, there's normally a Sessegnon in there somewhere stinking it out, and he did. But you don't know what he's going to do from game to game. So
he's very unpredictable, isn't he? Let's face it. And he could end on it in a flourish. You never know. But yeah, I'll have him as my flair pick for Fancy Island is to counter the obvious Dzeko pick. Who have you gone for, Graham?
So I've gone for Barini. I'm doing a Jonty this week, I'm afraid. I've gone for the Dullard picks. But he can get a penalty. I need to claw back 7 points now.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm behind after all these weeks. And another thing as well that you've done, you've gone above the ScoutCast team with your double game week. And of course, it's taking you till game week 37 to bypass them.
I know. How many points am I ahead of them? I am. I'm only 6 points ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're still in the balance there.
I know. And I picked the team for the final week, so I could nobble it. For one thing I meant to say at the beginning of the show, if anyone's got any ideas for how we run the ScoutCast team next year, post them in the hot topic or tweet them at hashtag FFS Live. We're looking for some ideas how to do it. This year, in case you missed it, we basically ran the team where we weren't allowed any players from last season's top 4 teams. Worked okay. We did surprisingly well, to be honest, considering we didn't have players in those clubs. But yeah, looking for something maybe a bit more, even more imaginative.
It was just a bit frustrating doing them this week and seeing that I could only, because I had the wild card, you see, so I had the choice of any player in the league, and I had to go for the double game week players, and I just ended up getting in 3 West Brom players because you couldn't pick United or City. It was 3 West Brom players, a Hull player, a Villa player. I think I had a Villa player.
You went for George Boyd. How many times have you picked George Boyd in your fantasy team? Has anyone picked him? Remind me.
I mean, he did get an assist, but unfortunately, I benched Gerrard for him.
An error. I mean, yeah, seriously.
It didn't make that, but it made a 5-point difference. Actually, that's the difference in the scores, isn't it? Yeah, so I didn't really have much. Dorrans and Amalfitano in midfield. How often is that? And they were terrible this game. This game.
On double game weeks, that's where it became difficult picking no top 4 players. When City and United were in there, we could have United players next year using that rule. But to be honest, I don't really want to do top 4. Perhaps we can do something like only picking 6-footers or only picking players whose wives have slept with a certain Chelsea centre back or something like that. That'll narrow it down a bit, won't it? But yeah, something like that. I mean, come up with what you like and post your ideas on the hot topic, and Granville and I will assess them over the summer and come up with something. See if you can come up with a winning formula for us. I want something that hopefully doesn't run me close next year, like I have this year anyway. Let's look at the scout list, Granville, because it's hotting up there, isn't it? It's absolutely ridiculous. Basically, Luke Weston, who was on the show 3 weeks ago, has let it slip, has fallen away, and ironically, he's basically been beaten by Tom Fenley, who's been taking some hit. He took some extra hits, and that's made the difference. I think I said in the preamble last week, he got Koscielny in when he got the goal and the clean sheet and the bonus. That got him 13 points, and he's now top of the Scout League with 2.586, and top of the world as a result. Luke Weston is second in the Scout League on 2.564. And he lost out this game week as well. He took the extra hit, Luke, and he's now 26 points behind.
He gambled on the Mata captaincy, so he had a differential to make it up, but unfortunately for him, it didn't work out. He scored similar though. He scored 67 to 71, but he needed better than that.
Yeah.
He's actually been overtaken in the overall standings.
He is, but let's just sum up this Scout League first of all, because Veronica Solomosi is third on 2.550, Ian May on 2.542, and then John McPhillips on 2.533.
Ian May's a poster on the site, a regular poster.
He is indeed, yeah.
Teletubbies. And he took some risks this week. Yeah, he took some risks too. I think he spent 12 points. Just to try and he knew that he needed to make some risks, and I think he got he did get a big differential in. I can't remember who it was. I'm sorry, but he did have a go, and he dropped down a bit, but I don't think he regrets it.
Well, this is what you got to do at this stage of the season, though, isn't it? If you might as well go for it, because you're in the top 10. That's a decent finish anyway, isn't it? So in the members league, Tom Fenley is top of that. He's also a member, of course. John McPhillips in second. Luke Van Lillyworld in third, and then Brent Zacharias and Stuart Harrison in fourth and fifth. So overall, as you say, Tom Fenley is on 2.586, Luke Weston on 2.564. But between them, it's a newcomer in the overall standings. Who got an incredible 118 points. Borna Gamlin. He captained Zeko. Simple as that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's excellent. And it's one of those that needed to do something, and it came off. And I don't know whether it's male or female, to be honest with you, Borna. You've got an outstanding chance to win it now. 13 points behind Tom. Well in there.
He's got a strong team as well. It's going to be a really nerve-wracking final day, and we'll obviously be cheering Tom and Luke on to see whether they can win it as Scout League members. But Tom with 13 points, that should be enough. But obviously, Borna's going to try and take a risk with the captaincy. I thought it's just good. It's fascinating. The final day, it's always something to play for. No one's ever, as in my memory, had like a 30-40 point gap on the final day and had it in the bag. So, and it's happened again. And I thought Tom really did. It was all signed and sealed when he opened up a 20-point gap over Luke. But no, it's not. I mean, he won't be resting on his laurels, that's for sure.
Right, do you want to move on to the Sky League?
Sky League. So Daniel Rowan has separated his teams, Grenville. Big news here. 2-5-5 in one, 2-5-1-9 in the other. So he obviously did the old differential on the captains. It hasn't worked. He's won the Scout League, but he's well behind in the overall standings. He is some 60-odd points, 63 points behind the current leader. So 73 in fact. So I don't think he's got any chance of closing that. In third in the Scout League, it's our own Luke Williams, who was a guest on the show just last time out, 2 weeks ago. He's on 2-5-0-9. Luke is fifth overall. Again,
so is that in the money?
Yeah, he should be. Luke should be getting a few pence out of that. That's for sure. But he would have dreamt more, wouldn't he, a few weeks ago? But Suzanne Rachel Roberts out on top in the Sky game. Looks that signed and sealed. In the Sun game, Jeff Bryer's still top of the Scout League, and he's 8th overall. He is only 32 points behind, but I just can't see him catching John Ormond out on top in the Sky game, in the Sun game rather. So good effort by Jeff. He's won our league by a massive margin over Charles Mouzon, but looks likely to miss out on the big money. But again, like Luke, he should get something for that. So, indeed. So Granville, let's get Evs, Jonty, and Apple Bonkers. So we nearly didn't make this because Evs had trouble joining us, but we're going to bring them in now. Let's bring Jonty on first, and
I think this is what people have been waiting for.
Oh, indeed, yeah.
I can take a back seat now.
Hold on, Joe. I'll just turn your mic on.
Your mics. Do you want to switch your mics on, lads?
It's all done. There we go. Hello, Jonty. Hello, Doug.
Oh, I'm on.
Hello,
Dan.
Hello, Evs. How are you all?
Very good.
Well, packed.
Did you enjoy that brief appearance by my son?
It was good. That was a good bit of parenting.
Yeah, well,
Couldn't leave him to cry. That was good.
Oh, Mark's got some good news actually. But he found his cat.
Yeah, you spoilt it for me, didn't you?
Have I?
Granville?
Oh.
Yeah. I was going to announce that. Yeah, Jonty, I found my cat. It had nothing to do with Doosville. It just turned up.
You posted something because there was a bit of a search on social media as well. You had people in Hanover looking. Your former area in Brighton looking for you.
I know. We had the pet detectives out. Doosville was involved. We left the house. Obviously, it was completely empty. No furniture there. We just went back on the off chance that he'd have gone home, and there he was. There he was upstairs. Wondering where all the furniture had gone. It was quite.
That's amazing.
So I was in a jubilant mood yesterday. Wow. Not only that, but Zeko scored a couple for me as well. So
that is excellent. That is good.
So Jonty, another good week for you, and I know you got Yaya Toure in.
I did. I had to.
Great move, Jonty.
I couldn't face a Manchester City double game week without Yaya Toure. I mean, obviously, he did me proud, and I didn't get, Zeko in, which would have been even better. But Yaya was great, and I got him in for Ramsey as well, so that was even better.
A bit of a risk, I suppose, maybe.
Well, yeah, when it came down to it, my big decision that week was ditch one of Eriksen and Ramsey. I knew I wanted Yaya Toure, and it was one of Eriksen, and I know it was a big discussion on the site as well, and I went for Ramsey. Not for this week, but for the following week. I just felt game week 38, ahead of the FA Cup final.
Yeah.
I think Eriksen had the better fixture.
Ramsey for Toure. Look at those two players.
I just saw Ramsey. Eriksen's got the better fixture. Ramsey could be dropped. I didn't expect him. I didn't expect all of the shenanigans that went on this double game week with Manchester United. It was heartbreaking for us neutrals, but it was a good. I've got to admit, it was a good piece of narrative from Giggs, getting himself on, and
he was always going to do that. He was once he lost that Sunderland game. I think he was taking risks.
initially I thought, God, those poor people at Old Trafford, they've got, they're paying to see whole reserves against Manchester United reserves. And then I just completely ate my words because I thought to be there would be fantastic. You're seeing a young talent who could break into the team, score a brace, and you get Ryan Giggs assisting a Dutch international
on his way out. Yeah,
Van
Persie back on the score sheet.
Ryan Giggs' last ever appearance, so that's something for the history books at Old Trafford. Possibly. So yeah, incredible.
And Granville was at home, of course.
Always at home, but there was some slight disappointment for me this week because I did get toppled from the top of the contributors league.
Oh yeah, you mentioned that before we could get the digging. Yeah, I mean,
I know, really. It says in the notes so people know. It says ribbing of Jonty.
Yes,
for everyone else, it just says have a chat. For me, it says ribbing.
I think basically you've asked for it because you've been ribbing myself and Mark for the last few weeks, in particular. And you've almost forced us not to support you in the Contributors League. I said a few weeks ago, didn't I, Mark? I says I really want Jonty to win the Contributors League, but I've changed my tune.
No, I know.
Why is that?
I don't know, you just turned on me. It's like the first album, but when I got famous, you just went off me.
That's right.
Yeah, the fame went to your head, Jonty. That was it. I mean, the thing is, Granville went so far that he was almost encouraging Apple Bonkers to join the league as well, because as we'll find out in a minute when we bring Apple Bonkers in, he's only got to enter the Contributors League and he's got it won, isn't that right, Apple Bonkers?
I know, he's flying higher than me, and here he is.
The thing is, we would have invited him in if it wasn't for Luke. Because now Luke is top, he'd be usurping Luke, and that wouldn't be right, because Luke hasn't done anything to annoy us.
But what season you've had, Doug? Incredible. What's gone right for you? What have you done?
Oh, just to start with, about the league, I think it'd be a bit cheeky if I joined late, and I'd also be a bit of a hypocrite because I view it like the team that finishes third in the Champions League group. They shouldn't really be allowed to drop into the Europa League, should they? I think that's a bit cheeky.
Yeah, that is true because I mean the teams in Europa League always think they got it won, then the big guys. So
that's how I view the Conference League.
Big boys came. Yeah,
I view that league like the Europa League, so don't want to join that.
But it's quite interesting that we got you and Evs on tonight because you've had an absolute storming season, and now I've got to bring Evs in at this point. Evs, a year ago, to almost to the day, we were talking about your chances of winning the FBL. Very, very different a year later. What's gone on?
Well, what's going on this year? What went on last year? This year, is it?
What's gone wrong this year, Evs?
Well, I had a wild card in early January. I wanted to keep till the end of the window, really. Got hit by injuries, so I was forced to do it. Then I got hit by more injuries, so I was forced to take a bigger hit. And then I went for a Van Persie and Jay Rodriguez combo, which just killed me. I refused to get Sturridge. I just don't like going with the two players at top on the same team. I think it just kills your options, and Suarez's points dropped off, and they all went to Sturridge. And that just destroyed me, plus other injuries. And, well, I just dropped from about 1k in about game week 22. I went up under 12k then, 2 weeks back.
But there was a point, Evs, where Granville and I were saying you were getting decisions right and you were looking like you were going to do well again and be in the top 100 again, which, to finish that high 2 seasons running looks, almost impossible to do. Having said that, Matt's done it this year by the look of it, having won it last year. Very, very tough to do well 2 seasons running, but you just, it just went wrong with you, didn't it? With about 10 game weeks to go, you just slid down the rankings, didn't you?
Yeah, well, in fact, I blame Granville. I call it Granville's curse because he said something back before Christmas. Everything I touched seemed to turn to gold, and then everything I touched seemed to turn to the opposite of gold. After that,
I do remember that. And you remember that goalkeeper transfer that we made when Boric got injured?
Yeah, Pat the lineup,
Pantilimon. And I followed you on that. You just sort of convinced me to go for him, and it was that game week when he had a clean sheet and he was on 7 points or something, or 6 points, and then he lost like 7 points in the space of a few minutes.
Yeah.
He conceded, and then he scored an own goal, and then he conceded again.
And then he just got dropped.
Yeah, it was just incredible. And we could quite easily have got one of the. There was a cheaper goalkeeper we could have got. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Manone.
Yeah.
And actually, it was just it. I was sort of cursing it, and I seemed to have bad luck for ages after that.
The
Well,
Pantelimon bandwagon was dreadful, wasn't it? I mean,
It was such a stupid move.
But prior to that, it was Boric and Davis. So that was keeper curse before the City keeper as well.
Yeah, that was terrible, wasn't it? Because we both had Davis, and then the minute that Boric got injured, Davis got injured.
Yeah, you couldn't make it up.
Yeah, and they brought in Gazaniga, and then they were just conceding goals every single week. Yeah.
Well, enough of these tales away. Let's go over to Apple Bonkers because he's beaten Jonty, and I love to talk to managers beating Jonty. So Apple Bonkers, what's gone really well for you? Jonty's grimace in there, another stab in the ribs. What? I mean, we've heard what's gone wrong for Evs. What did you do right this year?
Well, a lot of it's just luck. I want to say it's some magic skill, but a lot of it's, especially captains. You realise how big captains are when they're going right, and tactically, the only thing that's changed really is defenders, big defenders. I noticed. I think
backs, have you?
Yeah, well, not just centre backs, just expensive defenders. Because I think most people are used to sort of playing 3-4-3, 2 premium defenders, rotate 3 little ones. I noticed. I think it was Andy early on with Vertonghen and Baines doing really well. So I thought, then noticing the bonus point change, I thought I'll throw in a third big defender. Then I thought, this is going all right. Then Walcott got injured, who was probably the only big midfielder I actually trusted since Bale left last season. Of course, we've since found out that Yaya Toure and Hazard are pretty trustworthy as well. But yeah, as soon as Walcott got injured, I threw in a 4th big defender, and it just worked. Although,
so did you get on the bandwagons with Toure and Ramsey and Suarez, Sturridge? Were you on all those?
Yes, Suarez straight away. That's another thing I've changed. I've learnt to buy players I don't like this season. So Suarez and Terry are my allegedly racist pillars at the front and the back. They've been carrying me. But yeah, I've learnt to buy players I don't like. And I think a turning point with that was a couple of seasons ago. I think Joey Barton, when he was a 4.5 mid, and he did really, really well. And I thought, I'm not buying Joey Barton, whatever happens. And I probably lost out on about 40 points just doing that.
To be fair, Joey Barton does make it easy not to buy him normally. So,
yeah, but he was doing amazing though. But yeah, but I still haven't learned not to buy players I do like, which has cost me quite a few points. Like the game week 34, the double game week, Aga v Skirtle. Yeah, going Aga when Skirtle was obviously the bigger attacking threat, more nailed on. That cost me, I think, 16 points in one match.
You do like a bit of Aga, don't you?
Yep, Aga do. But yeah, it's just the main one's the big defence. With the bonus points, I find it a lot easier to get 8 or 9 points from say a 6 million defender than a 6 mil midfielder.
Yeah, did you play 4 at the back then?
Yeah, I play 4 a lot, and I've actually looked. The last 3 double game weeks, I played 5-2-3.
Really?
Not necessarily by choice, just that's how the fixtures, panned out. But yeah, and it's not necessarily playing a big 5 defence. It's having 5 big defenders to choose from, and I have no problem benching a 6 million defender, for example.
So are you taking any of this into next season? I mean, Granville. We were talking about it earlier. Granville and I were saying. Well, Granville was saying that every season's different and you can't really take any lessons learned. But I mean, do you have any at all? I mean, are things you did right this year, you're definitely going to adopt next year?
Well, that's it. That was mainly based on the bonus point change. So if it's the same bonus point system next season, then I don't see why not. And as long as Mourinho's there with Chelsea and Vermaelen's not playing for Arsenal, then I'll back those 2 defences. Yeah.
I was going to ask you, do you also look to build team value in the first half?
Not at all. Last 2 years, I've completely ignored team value. I think if you get the right players, you build up a value anyway. So, because
I noticed that about a month or 2 ago, having a high team value really, really helped. When Aguero was back, you had Yaya Toure, Hazard, Gerrard. And the expensive defenders, but now it's been a hindrance. I mean, I've got about 4.5 million sitting in the bank. But whatever transfer I do next, I could end up with nearly 9 million in the bank.
Isn't that what? There's a couple of people complaining this week that if they hadn't had such good team value, then they would have bought Xhaka instead of Aguero.
I've seen that as well.
Yeah,
brilliant.
That's just crazy, isn't it? But that's just the way it's gone.
I understand it. I do understand that.
There's great value in midfield, and as Apple Bonkers said, you've got these defenders. That you've got these 6.5 million defenders who are performing like the 8-9 million midfielders were last season.
Yeah, but then Luke was on 3 weeks ago, and he said, he's a 3-4-3 guy, so maybe I'm doing well in spite of that, as opposed to because of it.
I think what's interesting this year as well, there's been a lot of goals from set pieces, especially look at the Yayas and the Gerrards and people like that. That's just area of expertise, AB, isn't it?
Is that statistically proven?
Well, nicely set up there, Evs, for Apple Bonkers.
That was a bit obvious, that one, I think.
Yeah, it was really a beautiful segue there for Evs. It's completely unprompted as well, but I'm quite impressed. Because Doug, you have been looking at set pieces this season. Half through the season, you were like, "I'm going to take on the set piece table and start updating it and looking at players." And it has been a pretty extraordinary season for set pieces with Gerrard and Touré in particular.
Yeah, but have you
got any stats there out there to roll out?
Well, I think Gerrard actually puts Touré to shame because Gerrard 13 goals, 13 assists, of which all 13 of the goals are from set pieces. So 10 penalties, 2 free kicks, 1 header from a corner, and of his 13 assists, only 4 of them were from open play. The rest were corners and free kicks. So without set pieces, he'd be on 0 goals and 4 assists. So
has he not scored from open play?
Apparently not.
From open play.
No, I don't think he has. I can't recall one this year from open play, to be honest.
I can. I can recall a long shot.
May have been in a cup game. I don't know. I can't remember one.
Okay.
He got 2 free kicks and the header against Everton from a corner, and that's it basically.
And this is it. When you look at Gerrard and Touré next year, you've got to expect certainly Touré to get a big price hike. Gerrard may get a hike as well. Presumably, we're already concluding that neither of those two can maintain the scoring that they got this year. Would you agree with that? Do you want to? I mean, Jonty, you're a big Touré fan, obviously.
I'm a big Touré fan.
You go back in next year?
No, it depends on the price. I think he'll be very expensive. I mean, he could. We're looking at probably 11, maybe even 12. And I don't think so, because the other thing is that he's older as well. I mean, I'm not sure what he's. I mean, he's going to be a year older. The team dynamics are going to change as well. There's going to be 1 or 2 new players, you would imagine, at Man City. And it's just a completely different season as well. I mean, Aguero is the penalty taker. So a lot of Yaya Touré's goals have been when he's been out of the picture, or Aguero gets subbed off. I mean, the popular one for Yaya Touré fans is when Aguero gets subbed off in the 65th minute and 66th minute penalty occurs for Yaya Touré. But I just don't think so. I just think, like with players like that who are getting older, he's not at the peak of his. It seems like he's at the peak of his powers at the moment, but age-wise, he's not. And so I can only see a decline. Having said that, I'm sure he'll do really well. But I'd be interested in the price. Same with Gerrard as well. I mean, Liverpool are going to be completely different because they're going to be in the Champions League. Yeah. There's going to be rotation. Well, there's going to be a lot of rotation.
The thing is, can I just come in there? I think with Gerrard, actually, that's bucking the trend because he's had a couple of fallow years and he's come back strongly again this year. I know it's from set pieces. He's been lucky with penalties, etc. But he's outperformed his score from last season. So, why can't Yaya Touré carry it on next season?
That's, he could do. I don't know.
And why would City want to change a successful season?
Well, can I just break up Yaya's stats again? First half of the season, 1 goal and 3 assists from open play. In the second half of the season, 7 goals and 5 assists. So it's actually sort of like a tale of 2 seasons for him. So he's really picked up lately, even from open play. So it's not just set pieces at all. Yeah. And I've actually, this might surprise you, Gerrard, I added all his penalties, free kicks, set piece assists, and the bonus that all those got him, and it's 115 points just from set pieces this season.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think many people are going to look at.
That's got to be a record, surely.
Yeah, I mean, that's an incredible return from set plays. It just shows you how important they can be with key players. I mean, the thing is as well, City and Liverpool have obviously been the most likely players to win, likely teams to win free kicks and penalties because of the players they've got and just how attacking they've been. Perhaps,
What do you say? Diving?
Well, no, I didn't say that necessarily. But I mean, I just think they have been by far and away the most attacking teams in the league. Yeah, United haven't rivaled them. Arsenal have stuttered at times and they've struggled up front. Obviously, Giroud has kind of laboured at times. So we've only really had those two teams standing out as attacking forces. Whereas next year that probably won't be the case. So there'll be a bigger spread, hopefully.
I agree. I think that's going to be Yaya Touré's problem next season. He will actually have competition. I mean, he's just been, he's been fantastic this season in midfield, and there hasn't been a Walcott. I mean, Chelsea have only really had Hazard, and even then, he's not really captain material. You couldn't trust him to get 10 points every week. Whereas Yaya has been, for a lot of this season. So yeah, I just think next season's be completely different. It's been a tailor-made season for Yaya Touré. I mean, and also you've got to think at the beginning of the season we're all back down to 100 million. If we've got a 12 million pound player sitting there, we're going to be thinking twice about him. So there will be the Yayas and the not Yayas.
Yaya should be a lot more than Gerrard, I think, because I'm just looking here. Touré's 41 points ahead of Gerrard. That's quite it's quite a lot. And I think just the main point with those two is Yaya's set pieces are like, it's a cheesy saying, but they're like the icing on the cake. Whereas for Gerrard, like that's the cake basically.
Next year we're going to have the same problems at the beginning of this season, where everyone's going to want Bale and they want Van Persie. Everyone's going to want Suarez and Yaya. I'm going to get priced out of it.
Yeah. Can't
have both. You'd be in that scenario again.
I mean, perhaps a good tactic would be, to look at it from a very strategic point of view. Just get Suarez is obviously going to be very expensive. Just get Suarez, Yaya in, base your team around them, and then look to shift them if they don't fulfil their promise, rather than the other way of having to butcher your team around, take loads of hits quickly, just to get them to shoehorn them in and get rid of players you actually want as well. So maybe that strategically would be the best move next season.
I don't think I'm going to go Yaya. I'm going to avoid him again, I think. I'm going to make a policy of it. It's worked so well for me this year. Why wouldn't I stick to it?
Yeah, it's a winning formula.
The thing is, it's going to be different. I mean, there's going to be players coming in next year. I mean, City may go Diego Costa. United are going to get a couple of big midfielders, I'm sure. Even Cavani they're talking about. So there's going to be plenty of places to spend your money. You might not necessarily want to go to get Yaya Touré. Suarez, it'll probably be 14 million, possibly. Yeah, I mean, if Van Persie was 14 million, then he's going to be 14 million. Unless they think that maybe he was a bit overpriced, Van Persie this season, which he was.
I think
14 million easily.
Yeah, I think with Van Persie's injuries and Manchester United's form, obviously Van Persie hasn't been worth it, and I think a lot of people concluded that at the beginning as well. But Suarez could actually be worth 14 million. Annoyingly, he could be a bit like Ronaldo, where it's just the price you have to pay.
With his sister, just getting ridiculous.
Matches.
He's also going to have Europe as well. So.
So, Jonty, you've got some questions in the community as usual for our guests. And
I have. And some of them kind of tie up some of the things we've already been speaking about. So we were speaking about defenders, and we were speaking about taking hits as well. You were speaking about you're going to be taking more hits next season. So this is from Fitzy. He asks, is the old adage about never taking a hit for a defender still relevant, given the change to the bonus system that favours centre-backs in particular?
So, Doug, do you want to take that one first? Because you're the advocate of big defenders.
These questions always confuse me about hits and are they worth it. I think it sounds stupid. If it works, it can work with the defender. It can work with a goalkeeper even. So yeah. The only reason it's risky is because if you don't take a hit, it can't backfire. Wait, no, I put that wrong. If you take a hit, it can backfire by at least 4 points more than not taking a hit, basically.
Yeah, I think the thing with defenders is that people equate a clean sheet to 4 points. So effectively, your defenders got to get you the clean sheet and got to get your bonus.
But I see what you're saying about obviously the more bonus of defenders there's, maybe it is more tempting this season. But yeah, I think it's just it can work. Obviously, if you do the right player, it can work.
Yeah, I think he's got something there definitely because so a player like John Terry. So Chelsea keep a clean sheet, which they always have done traditionally. But a clean sheet now for Terry makes him a 9-point player that week, whereas in previous seasons that might have made him a 6 million player because the bonus were all over the shop.
I think that's a good point. I think if you look at what Tom Fenley did with Koscielny, kind of sums it up in that he took a 4-point hit, but he went further than that. He got Koscielny in. And he got the goal and the clean sheet and the bonus, and that's probably what's going to win it for him at the end of the season. That decision to go with Koscielny and take a hit for him, which was brave. But when you look at it, Koscielny was very much like John Terry in that he had a short, well, not a sure bet, but he had a strong option for a clean sheet that week. I think they had Newcastle at home. If Arsenal keep a clean sheet, Koscielny and Mertesacker are always in the bonus, and Koscielny's got a goal for it. And you look at Terry, and he's very similar. He's a centre-back, so he gets the bonus and he's got a goal for it. You can't say the same for Baines, perhaps, because you're not always guaranteed to get the bonus, but he does have the goal and assist for it. So I think for the big defenders who have got almost certain bonus in a clean sheet scenario and have got a goal for it, I think that it is worth taking a hit. And I think the change to that has been the bonus point system, as Dave talks about. It's using Jonty, it's almost a certain extra 3 points.
Oh, it's totally. So, there's another question here, actually, kind of on a very similar theme. There's something that Doug's mentioned as well about from Atletico Timbo, so one of our team. He says, can you see yourself playing 4 defenders next season as opposed to the traditional 3-4-3? And I particularly wanted to ask Evs this actually, because I know that he's very keen on 3-4-3. So do you think you might go for 4 at the back?
No.
There we go.
No, always play 3-4-3. You've just got more points potential off the midfielders and the forwards than you get for a defender, unless you've got a defender on penalties or like Baines or on corners. They get a lot of them, plus the clean sheets bundle in. If you're going years back, if I had someone like Dennis Irvin or Ian Hart, then you would laugh at him.
But the memories.
Yeah, gold.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Was anyone playing with Stuart Pearce? Was in his pomp?
Never heard of him. Never heard of him. Sorry, as you were saying.
Yeah. Hello.
Hello. Yeah, we're still there.
I was going to say, an old poster came on yesterday. You know him quite well, Mark. Your dad.
Oh, was he on yesterday? Yeah.
Yeah, he posted once, and he goes, he says, I haven't seen such a big swing in the game week since I captained Gordon Hill for Derby in 1978 in a 4-0 win. Yeah, only a few people will get that, but Gordon Hill was an old player. He used to play for United and Derby. Anyway,
that's why your dad was one of the best posers ever. Brilliant stuff. Brilliant. So 4 at the back, I don't know, and I'll look at it next year. I think the bonus points has changed the way we look at our teams completely. I remember in the summer we were trying to predict what the bonus points were going to change, what they were going to do for our selections, and we did have a feeling that defenders would benefit, but I didn't quite see that centre backs or dominant centre backs would get almost guaranteed bonus like they have done, and I think we've got to. One of the lessons learned from this season has got to be, if it's a toss-up between a full-back and a centre-back, you go for the centre-back because the bonus is there. So I think it depends on the pricing, but
I think but there's also a difference with the defenders, because it's clear that your full-backs for your weaker sides that aren't going to keep clean sheets, and even though Palace have kept a few, but so your players like Ward or Alonso Sunderland, they're great, so you avoid their centre backs. But for teams like Chelsea, you pretty much avoid. Terry and Cahill are better options, and the same with Manchester United. If they'd have had a settled defence, their fullbacks have been pretty null and void. I mean, Everett's just been quite disappointing for what he is and the team he's playing for. So yeah. Hey, we've got a less defensive question next. This is from GTS, but it's very similar as well to something that James has just put up via Twitter. So GTS asks, which player will be Game Week 38 surprise package? And James asks, who will be this week's Kevin Nolan. So yeah, same question there. So I'd go Granville first. Who do you reckon?
Take this first, Granville.
It's just so unpredictable. Who have we had in the last few years? We had Nolan last year. We had Shoyi. Do you remember him?
Shoyi.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah.
Actually, last season we also had Lukaku.
Emerson Boyce.
Emerson Boyce, yes. Who was it? So we got Lukaku could be the one, because I'm looking at swapping out Aguero. Adebayor's one, but how about Lukaku? After a season with him where it's been up and down and failing to score in easy games and scoring in difficult games.
Isn't there a quota on the amount of times you can buy Lukaku, Granville?
Well, I'm on number 4.
Yeah.
But I've seen some
5 max.
I think JK from the site has had him six times, bought and sold him 6 times. Which is incredible, really.
It's ridiculous. There is no player like him, is there? I think I've had him 4 times. I think anyone who's kind of fancied their chances as competing at the top has gone for Lukaku a few times, because there's been game weeks where he's looked a sure bet, and how many times he's delivered? I think once or twice this year where he's really delivered on expectations. He's one of those players who gets his goals, but they're unpredictable when they come. He scored at City, for example, and no one.
So, which is perfect for this game week, which is a really unpredictable game week. I think they go hand in hand. So, I ain't got anything to lose. So that might be my away to Hull City. Yeah, why not?
I'll tell you what. I'll put a name out there. Apart from Settignon, here's one for you: Andy Carroll. What about that? Because at the moment, if you look at the stats, he's the form striker. City, we saw conceded goals to QPR on that day. All the nerves got to them. But Andy Carroll's a striker where the best back four can struggle to deal with it. I think he's going to get one, and I think that he could be an unlikely one.
He and Stuart Downing put up a picture on Twitter of them giving a big thumbs up, saying this is for Liverpool.
Yeah.
Meaning that they're gonna try and change history a bit tomorrow.
They've got it in them though, because I think the main danger for this City side will be pace. And I don't think they've got it. Neither had Villa. I mean, Villa would have had a chance if they had Agbonlahor and O'Brien playing. As soon as I saw those names on the team sheet, I thought they've just got no chance. They're just going to be sitting back. And Weiman's pretty good as well. He's pretty pacey, but they just didn't have enough of it. And I don't think West Ham have. So I just can't see anything but a City win.
Yeah, I can't see Andy Carroll troubling them at the back for pace, but I just think set pieces and he's just his general threat in the air. I think it's going to be an interesting one. I'm glad he's there to make it a bit more interesting, because otherwise we'd all be sitting here going, "Well, City got it in the bag." They kind of have, but Andy Carroll could be the X factor. And
I think West Brom is going to. West Brom historically do really well. Sessegnon, I think, is a good bet. Dorrans could be good. It could be one of their strikers, whichever one starts. Berino, Vydra. It'll be.
And Chibi off the bench, mate.
They're doing really well at home. They're one of those teams that are slightly old-fashioned in that they play to their fans that are there, that come to see them, and they'll be wanting to give them a good send off. This their last game. And the last 2 or 3 seasons, the surprise package has come from West Brom. Lukaku, Chichoy, is that? Yeah. And Sessegnon is the arch point scorer when you least expect it.
Any names there, Evs? You got anyone to throw in the hat?
No, not got a clue. But it's gonna. You expect Liverpool and City to score lots of goals, but last day of the season is always the goal fest, isn't it? Really, people got nothing to play for. Not got a clue, to be honest. It could be anyone, couldn't it?
Well, that's the beauty of the final day. It is so unpredictable. And if only I was in touching distance of Granville, not literally, but if only I was just a bit closer. I got a feeling
Sturridge is going to do well.
Who's that? Sorry.
Sturridge. I got a feeling
Oh,
Sturridge.
don't say that.
Go Suarez.
Actually, you can say that because Granville's he's left his seat, so he can't hear that. But that is who I'm going to go for. I'm going to get Aguero out, Sturridge in. Yeah. Is Granville under his desk? He's
hiding.
Best not to ask. Doug, have you got anyone you want to put?
Yeah, I've got a couple. I've got. Well, it should be an obvious one, but I don't think anyone owns him anymore. It's Hazard against this Cardiff defence.
Right.
I can't believe you said that, Doug.
Yeah. But yeah, no. The Cardiff defence, they can't really deal with agile players. And
They can't deal with any players.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's true. But yeah, Hazard is perfect. But I've got a punt as well. What's his name? Left winger, Yannick Bolasie.
Yes. Yeah.
If anyone saw Fulham last week trying to deal with Asaidi with 6'5" Dan Burn at right back?
Yeah, didn't he ask Asaidi to swap wings because he didn't want to mark him anymore?
No idea, but yeah.
That was the story. Asaidi came out after the match and said, Dan Burn asked me to go onto the opposite flank because he couldn't handle it.
I wouldn't be surprised, but yeah, I just don't get that decision to put. It's like putting Mertesacker right back. I just don't get it.
Who was missing then? Why did he have to play at right back?
Reether's been injured, I think. But yeah, Bolasie, 90 minutes, party atmosphere. Bolasie, yeah.
Yeah,
I think he's about 4.9 or something.
Yeah, good point, yeah. So, yeah, I think they're all good names, yeah. I mean, who knows? We'll see. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if someone out of the blue just emerges like a Choi again. That would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Just hopefully...
I was just going to say, there is a final question that's linked into what we've just been talking about. If it's from multiple, there's too many to mention, but multiple community members wanted Ebbs to say Lukaku.
Oh.
Nice and clear, Ebbs.
It's a request.
Nice
His name is Lukaku.
Perfect.
You need the first name as well to get the Romelu.
Oh yeah. Go again, yeah.
What, Romelu Lukaku? Oh, I don't know what his name is.
Brilliant.
Absolutely superb. That was worth the wait. That's worth the admission fee alone, isn't it? That is absolutely brilliant. So final week then. Granville, you were out the room there when I gave my transfer away. So let's go round the room and talk about what we're going to do final day. Now we'll start with Jonty because I'm kind of thinking that everyone's going to take a punt here, apart from you, Jonty, because you don't need to, do you? So what have you got planned?
Well, I mean, there's two guys. You always think in terms of what's my goal this week. So, no, my goal this week is to obviously win the Contributors League, get back the 1 point that Disable has on me. But
you're not going to do that because Apple Bonkers is going
to get into the top 500. So I'm 524th. So I've got 24 places to make up. It all hinges on Aguero's fitness. It's highly unlikely he's going to play. It's highly unlikely he's going to last more than 30 minutes if he does. So be looking to move him out. There's obvious contenders. It's 50-50 between Zeko and Sturridge for me. But I'm tempted as well to take a hit. I've been taking hits for the last 4 weeks, and I've gone up to levels I've never been to before in this game. So I'm tempted to do one more as well. I'm a bit nervous about having Mata, and I'm genuinely not sure. And I'm listening to the punt, so I don't mind taking one odd punt now and again. And if you're going to take a punt, you might as well do that. And the final game week, the game week of the punt. So I don't know. Maybe Sessignon might end up in this.
Go on, Torre out for Sessignon. Come on.
No, Torre's not going anywhere. No, that'd be ludicrous. But I might look to get rid of. I've had Craig Noon sitting in his hospital bed on my bench. So I'm
hemorrhaging price, isn't it?
Hemorrhaging with doctors and nurses running around him. So I don't know. Yeah. So genuinely don't know.
So Doug, what about you? What have you got planned? Or aren't you willing to say, given your rank?
No, not. I don't think. Yeah, it's not quite world number 1 or Sky number 7, but yeah, it's the same problem with Mata really. If Mata plays, even though Southampton are good at home, he's a good option, especially if he plays in the hole. Ozil, I'm a bit worried about Arsenal's FA Cup final the week after.
Yeah,
that could be anything because I've also got Redmond on my bench. So if they play Vermaelen, Jenkinson, Diaby even. I might want to play Redmond.
Yeah.
But transfers, Hazard I think is certain. It will take a 4-point hit to get him, but that might be, I think, Sturridge in for Rooney.
Yeah.
I might just chance Aguero, see what happens, save the point hit.
Okay. So what's your rank? Just to remind us, Doug, where are you in the world? What, 150 are you or something?
Well, I've got it. No, I dropped last week, basically when Yaya scored. Even though I got probably the worst assist ever for Kolarov from it.
You leave Alex alone.
234.
234, right. Okay. Pretty impressive. Evs, who isn't 234 in the world, but we love him anyway. What have you got planned final game week?
My team's lit up like a Christmas tree at the moment, so I got more flags. And I don't know what I'm going to do really. Just straight on the team house. I may have a punt on somebody. I fancy Sunderland or a bit of a party atmosphere. Maybe go Barini or somebody. If you're feeling a bit flirty, but I don't know. You
going to captain someone crazy or not?
I'm going to go Sturridge if I bring him in. I dislike him.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll tell you what, Granville, I'll give you this. I'm going to go Sturridge, I think, for Aguero, and I may even give him the armband. And I'm going to take a hit somewhere else, but I'm not going to tell you what I'm going to do. But not that you're worried in the slightest what I'm doing, because it's all signed and sealed, delivered, the mini-league. But are you gracious enough to tell us what you're up to?
The thing is, the important thing is the ScoutCast team. I mean, are you going to control? Are you going to do it this week, or are you going to leave it to me?
No, I'll leave it to you. As it's got a chance of beating me, I'll leave it to you.
Hang on, let's put it the other way. You've got a chance of beating it. That's the way it's been this season. So I just have to find a way of cancelling out your City. Who else have you got? You've got City. I've got 3 Liverpool players. I've got Gerrard, so he might be the one to captain.
Okay, all right.
Maybe.
So basically, this is
a couple of assists from corners.
You're going to manage the ScoutCast team against me because that's the only bit of competition there's left on the final game week. That's
yeah, and with my team, I guess I need to try and get in the top 50,000, but I'm 24 points behind. It's very unlikely. I might get. Should I try and stay in the top 100,000? Is it really worth it, or should I just go for something? I don't know.
I think a final day punt. Go on, go out in a bang. Go on.
I'm going to probably get rid of Aguero. If you're going to get Sturridge, maybe I'll get Adebayor. It's Adebayor or Eriksen are the 2 favourites, and then the Maverick one is, believe it or not, is Lukaku. Just for old time's sake.
Deary me, just for a 7th time. The reason why I'm getting Sturridge is because I know you can't, because you've got Skirtle, Suarez and Gerrard. So you'd have to get rid of one of your Liverpool players to get him. So I know that Sturridge should be a differential. There you go. I should captain him probably on that basis, because you just never know. It might all combust for you, and I might get within 10 points. You never know. That would be good. If I can get within 10 points, it would be an absolute miracle. But I'm still going right to the very end, Granville, clinging to a faint hope. If only I'd have captained Zeko, that would.
So have we done all these questions on Twitter?
I think
we've been through them all, Jonty.
I think we're done, aren't we, Jonty?
I think we've just had a few. I just picked out some of those ones there. I think that was that was the main ones we had. There were a few more. If you've got,
this is one which sort of relates to what I've been going on about the whole season. From Justin Blunt Cowley says, this has been the best PL season for years, parallels with the most frustrating FPL season in a while. Can we have both? Well, I'd love to have both. I mean, for as a United fan, it certainly hasn't been the best PL season for years. Nowhere near. But I can see from if you're a neutral or a City or a Liverpool fan, then it's a good PL season. I am really looking forward to Van Gaal taking the reins at United as long as it's all going to go through, because I think he's going to be fantastic. I love the way that he carries on. I love the way that he deals with players. I love the way that he deals with the press in particular. I think he's zany, he's colourful, he's got great personality, and best of all, he's got bags and bags of experience. And I think he'll take United to where they should be, which is at least the top 4, and maybe bring some decent players in, attract decent players.
Well, this season, I mean, from that question there, it's been frustrating because the teams that we know and love as for a purely fantasy football point of view have just completely let us down. I mean, Chelsea really have let us down. They haven't had a striker. No Chelsea striker. That's a whole kind of tradition gone. Manchester United, the midfield's been down for a little while, but no real attacker that could be injury that's out injury, and Man U defenders as well. So I'm looking forward to Manchester United. I'm not a Manchester United fan, but I'm looking forward to them doing better next season because the options, right across the board, defence, midfield, attack, really lack them this season. But I think he makes it. I don't know if it is possible. I think it's been exciting this season. I mean, I've had my best season because it's been unpredictable. Which is odd, really, because I'm not an unpredictable player, so I don't know how that's worked. You're talking about FPL now? Yeah, for FPL, in terms of it being a very predictable Premier League season. It's been an unpredictable season, but for some reason, boring players like me have adapted to that.
I just realised I left the room for a toilet break and left the camera centred on my empty room. So effectively, you lot were jabbering and people were just staring at my empty room.
It could have been worse. You could have taken the camera with you.
That could have been way worse. Yeah.
Could have had the naked gun through.
Yeah.
Deary me. So I missed Jonty going on about boring seasons, which that sounds absolutely fascinating. What was the question?
I'll have to find it again. Hang on a sec.
Basically, it's been the best PL season, but the worst FPL season. It's been the most exciting PL season, but the most boring FPL season. Now, for me, it hasn't been the greatest PL season because of my team. But what could be good next season though, if Brighton managed to overcome Derby and actually
that'll be fantastic.
Yeah, and imagine Brighton in the Premier League. No. What players would you have?
I'd have David Lopez if he's 5 million or 6 million in midfield, and I would have Ujoa in attack as my 5 million striker.
Basically,
I wouldn't have anyone.
It'd be a huge Achilles heel for you, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I'd love to see Brighton go up for that very reason. I might have a chance of making Jonty.
I'm not that sentimental when it comes to fantasy football. I don't mind who I get in. If I have to dump one of them, I will.
We should know it by now, Granville, that Jonty doesn't let heart rule head there. This season shows that. All season he's played like that, and it's worked for him. So.
It's clinical.
Indeed. Doug and Evs, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thanks. Second appearance on the show, Evs, and true to form. Even though the rank's not up there like it was last time you were on, it was great to have you on the show, and I hope you have a better season. If we don't speak to you over the summer during the World Cup, which is a possibility, because we're going to do some shows during the World Cup, we hope you have a good summer and enjoy the World Cup, and we'll see you next season. We'll get you on in pre-season, perhaps, about your pre-season picks.
Great.
Apple Bonkers, what a great season you've had. Congrats on that, and I hope you have fun a good game week, and then join the Contributors League and wipe the smile off Jonty's face. That'd be brilliant.
I promised I won't join.
That would be totally unfair. Jonty, pleasure as always. Despite your rank, we have you on anyway because we love you really, don't we?
Yeah. Get going back next season.
And we'll catch you through later. Granville, I'll leave you on so I can say good night to you in private. And we can talk a little bit more, but good night to you guys, and
good
see
night.
you soon.
Thanks.
Thanks
very much.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.
So Granville, another season over. It's been a good one, Granville. I mean, we haven't enjoyed it, have we? To be honest, neither of us have done particularly well. Do you rate this season a success?
No, how can I? I think it's actually been, even though it's not been my worst for rank, I think it has been, because when the second season I played, I didn't really play properly. This season I played my heart out, and I've still failed. I mean, it's a massive. I know yours is even worse, but to not get in the top, 10,000 initially, and then not to get into the top, not even to touch the top 50,000. I think I'll end up in my highest rank the whole season at the end of the season, which I guess is what you want. It's just it just hasn't happened.
But listen, Granville, at one point this season you said you were going to give up, but that's not going to happen, is it? You'll be back next year to join me, because I'm rejuvenated thanks to my last 3 or 4 game weeks, and I think I'm going to go into next season with a bit of confidence. But you're going to be there and joining me, aren't you? Surely.
Yeah, I'll think about it, Mark.
Outrageous. He'll be there. We'll see you next season. We'll see you over the summer. You're going to play the World Cup game. We're going to do some
I
World Cup
didn't play the World Cup game the last time because I needed a break. I think I must have had another bad season 4 years ago. But I think I might play. Well, I think I might play this time.
Yeah, we'll do some World Cup Scoutcast, and we'll do some pre-season ones as well to look at the player list when they come out and look at the fixtures and stuff like that. Granville will be there. I'll certainly be there. We'll see you in the summer, if not next season. Thanks for joining us on the Scoutcast this year. We'll have a better season next year, we promise. Good night from me, Granville.
Good night.
Good night.